Welcome to Log It, another movie podcast. I'm Caleb. I'm here with my old good friend Ian. This is our first episode doing this. We love movies and we want to talk about them. Ian, how are you doing?
Good, man. How are you? So
Good,
happy to
good,
be
good.
here for number one in the
This is
books.
great. I'm very excited.
You can't see us, but
Uh,
we have huge smiles right now. Ear to
Grin and
ear
ear to
grins.
ear.
Yeah.
This is another movie podcast.
Just another one.
We thought you needed it. This show is going to be centered around the hit sensation social media app Letterboxd.
Can I stop you there?
Please.
Is it a hit? With
For
like
me,
is we no, I understand. For us being people who like movies, like do you think would your grandma use Letterboxd, let's say? Would your just run of the mill Joe Schmo? Probably
probably not.
not.
Just as the ESPN app would probably not be on any non-sports fan's phone.
And now that I say this out loud, genuinely don't know why I asked that
But
question.
among movie fans, I would call this the
But,
premier movie review
thank you.
tracking
That
app. Yeah,
exactly. But
yeah.
if you like movies, then this is the one for
And most
you.
likely you're gonna be a movie fan listening to this, unless you just think we're funny.
Mhm.
Alright, Ian. So we're gonna this app will be sent or this show will be centered around Letterbox, like we are saying.
Mhm.
I am fairly new to Letterbox, but I love it. Ian has been a long time user, I believe, since 2016.
I believe so, yeah, last time I checked.
Roughly, but basically it allows you to log movies you've watched and leave a review. And there's a social aspect to it, so you can see what your friends are watching and reviewing as well. You can also create
Mhm.
lists and such. In the future, we will probably be using lists to create some private user lists that we will share of our favorite films in certain genres. If there's funny list
Mhm.
ideas, I have a funny one I'm working on, which I think people are
So
going to be
funny.
cracking up about when it comes out.
It's just comedies.
Yeah,
It's just
it's
like
just literally funny movies. So we're excited and we're gonna be sharing stuff.
So
We have
excited.
a letterbox account for our podcast called Log It Podcast. So follow us there and we'll be
Correct.
posting lists and watching movies together, and maybe we'll have some scheduled movie events. This week, Ian, we had a movie we both watched that was
Correct. Very
coordinated,
excited to talk about
and
it.
then the rest were just random. And to start this episode, I think what we're gonna do is our last four movies we watch. If you're familiar
Yeah.
with Letterboxd, you'll know on your profile it shows your last four. So, Ian, tell me your last four.
We're starting with Dungeons& and Dragons: Honor Among
Mm,
Thieves. This was
okay,
a theatrical release for Ian, meaning I watched it in a movie theater. Um, Up next
fun.
after that, I watched the 1997 classic to me, but I think it'd be a classic to others as well, and that is LA Confidential.
Okay, very cool. I've never seen it.
Well, I will recommend it later.
All right, I'll add to the watch list.
Following up that, I'm stuck in the 90s, but I go a year back. We're going back to
Okay.
96, and I am hanging out with a good friend named Tom Cruise, and we're watching
Ah,
Mission Impossible.
oh wow.
Dun, 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 dun. That's just a good watch. That's a fun watch. And then
Mm-hmm.
finally, the movie. Should we give away the movie that we're going to be talking about?
Yeah, yeah. This
Okay.
is our shared movie.
This will be the movie that Caleb and I kind of delve a little bit deeper, and that is the 2007 uh just thriller, and that movie's Michael Clayton.
Michael Clayton.
Yeah. Um but yeah, do you want to go
Those are
right off
great.
your four? Yeah, I mean, I would say that four equals a good time at the movies.
Those are
They're w-
crowd
they're
pleasers for
they're crowd
sure.
pleasers. They're not duds. They each kind of
No,
have
there's
their
no
own.
miss.
There's no miss. They each have their own well, something that they offer.
Their little
Uh,
slot.
exactly. Do you want to go ahead and rattle off your four?
Yeah,
What
we'll
we
go
do?
through the 4 quick, and then I'd love to, have a
Yeah,
follow-up question I'd love to ask, and I'd love to hear more about if any of these stood out. So, my
no problem.
last movie or most, far movie My
Mhm.
fourth last was Mutiny on the Bounty from 1962, directed by Louis Milestone. This was awesome. It's an older movie starring Marlon Brando. Really enjoyed it. After that, I watched Cocaine Bear from 2023, directed by Elizabeth Banks. That one
Wow.
was fine. I wanted it to be a little bit better. But I'll be honest, I don't like Elizabeth Banks as an actress. And so there's a little bit of bias there where I
Can I
just
ask
am,
you sorry, can I ask you a
please,
quick
no
question?
go. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, was there enough Cocaine Bear?
They did deliver on Cocaine Bear. I will
Okay,
say that.
because there was the Godzilla remake. I don't know if you remember
Yep.
seeing that
Oh,
where
I don't remember seeing Godzilla if you catch my drift. I think that's where you're going.
I think you caught my drift, my good man, because Godzilla doesn't show up, and
Not
the
like
movie's
3
called
minutes or something
Godzilla.
like that.
No,
Yeah.
but I am glad Cocaine Bear decided to join the party. And you know what? I haven't seen the movie, and I don't think I will, but what I will say is that I am excited that what's the guy for a movie podcast, I'm not gonna know a lot of facts, but bear with me, but the guy from, um, Han Solo, what's his name?
Alden Ehrenreich.
Alden.
Ehrenreich.
It's good to
Yeah,
see him back
love
in
him.
movies.
Yep.
I'm glad he's because
He's so much
he
better. He's so underrated.
dude,
He'll eventually he's gonna get they're gonna realize how good he is because he's just like
bingo.
awesome. And he's like not been in like a real good movie as a lead yet.
Yeah, and,
He's been wasted, frankly.
extremely charming and really, really good performance in Hail Caesar, another movie
Oh,
that
yeah,
I love.
exactly,
Anyway,
dude.
but
So good. He's
yeah.
in another movie that was like kind of like a Twilight post in the wake of Twilight
A
called
vampire
Beautiful
movie?
Creatures. Uh-huh.
Oh,
I
wow.
think it's vampires or it's like some vampires or one of those
Right.
Dracula, yeah, whatever. But
Jackie
he's really
whatever.
good in it. It was a trash movie, but I remember it was the first time I saw him, and I remember being like, "Man, that guy is fun to watch, though." Like
Right.
this movie's garbage, but he is
Mm.
a great, charming lead. Okay, so Cocaine Bear, fine. It was good enough. It
Right.
was. It just
That's
didn't.
good.
It could have been more. Second last movie I watched was Zenon, Girl of the 21st Century from 1999, directed by Kenneth
Incredible.
Johnson. This was
Incredible.
a Disney Channel original film, so you probably remember it. It was fun. I actually have been watching a lot of old space stuff, and just kinda comparing how space is represented in film throughout these
Sure.
eras.
Sure.
So, it was actually fun seeing a Disney '90s representation of, like, space in film. There's another Disney space movie called The Black Hole that's kinda fun to watch, to see
Same
another
era?
um no, it's from, like, the '70s. I
Okay.
think it was, like, during, like, the Star Wars 2001 kinda sensation where Disney wanted their own space
Right.
slice.
Sure, sure.
Um, and so that was fun. Ultimately, I watched it because my wife liked it when she was a kid, and I we wanted to watch something that she liked.
When I think of Disney, like space and Disney, I think of like the clothes being very like almost like chrome painted. Was there a lot of that in Xenon? Like a lot of like chrome and the kind of you know what I'm talking about? Chrome.
There was a very interesting style. There's a lot of shiny chrome outfits. There's a lot of like
Yes.
vibrant colors like purples or like turquoisey greens.
What year does it take place in the movie? What year is it supposed to be? Do you know?
Sheesh, I'd have to double check. Oh, 21st century, so somewhere in the 2000s, but I think it was like 2020s or something like that. I
So they
can
could not be more wrong.
Oh yeah, yeah. But interestingly enough,
What do they predict?
they didn't well, they did predict self-driving cars and like iPads basically, but that was like
Yeah.
fairly common, like
Yeah.
sci-fi stuff, so I
Yeah.
wouldn't give them too much credit there.
It'd be cool if they
But
had like a very like hard sci-fi
they were like
like
super right about something crazy and like specific.
or just like yeah, yeah, sure, 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 sure.
I sorry if I misunderstood you. So
No, it's because I couldn't get my point across.
interesting fact, you bring up the fashion and how there was an
Yes.
imprint. In the show, there's a unique fashion style they're wearing called Nebula chic. which features
Ooh,
brightly colored clothing and futuristic accessories, which you were kind of talking about.
right.
This style actually became so popular among fans, it inspired a fashion trend in the late 90s and early 2000
Mm.
called nebulous chic in real life.
Is it kind of like rave? Was it kind of throughout the rave culture? I feel like
I
that
have
would.
zero idea
I
beyond
guess if
what I
it's
just
Disney
said.
fans, maybe they're not,
I imagine it was like little kids who wanted to dress up like space people on
interesting. I don't
Disney
remember that
Channel.
in my youth. I don't remember seeing little
I don't
space.
remember it either.
Mm,
I somewhat question that fact, but
yeah.
it was connected to what you said. So I'm gonna use it. And
Okay,
if you
cool.
guys fact check us, please do.
Yeah, don't
Bring
do
it
that.
on. Bring it on. Um, so that was really fun. And then my last movie was Michael Clayton, which we talked about, but that's from 2007, directed by Tony Gilroy, who has made some other interesting movies that we can really get into later.
Yeah,
Before we get into our feature film today, which is Michael Clayton, I wanted to ask kind of a get to know you question, kind of a movie question, Ian.
yeah,
Can I?
of course. I'm an open book, you know that.
How do you pick what movies you watch? Because you were saying it's kind of 90s. They were a little sporadic.
It's
I
kind of
have a hard time picking movies. Me and my
right.
wife, it seems to be a common problem. What's your strategy?
So, I will answer this question, but, it's hard to talk about because of how embarrassing it is.
We can move on. We can
No, no,
move
no,
on.
no. I think it's important for the people to know.
They did
So
need to know we can't
they need
move
to
on.
know. They need to know. So essentially, I think we are in an age, we're in the streaming age. Everyone has a streamer, which means you have access to so many damn movies. It's incredible.
Yep.
They're at your fingertips, and I'm privileged enough to have access to a few of the streamers, and with that comes thousands of movies. So what do? You ask? Well, I put the
How could you
movies.
pick?
Well, let me tell you, I put those movies in a document. Right? I just number them off.
Okay. Okay.
Oh God, Caleb, I'm embarrassed. I put them in a document. From there, I I basically rank them on Metacritic percentage. So the higher ones go at the top and the lower ones go at the bottom.
Okay, I actually didn't know this about you, and this is very interesting.
I think it's more insane and not interesting at all.
I
But
love it.
so they're in a list, right?
Uh-huh.
And then I will it depends on how I'm feeling. If I wanna watch a really good movie,
Yeah.
I'll maybe pick like the first 10 movies, right? Because 'Cause you're
Okay.
bound to get a good one. If I'm like
Right.
free for all, whatever, let's go, I'll just pick the whole damn list,
Okay.
and I'll put those I'll put those movies in oh god, Caleb, into a website
Uh-huh.
called wheelofnames.com. I
Okay.
will
We'll provide a link for that in the description, you
if you
guys.
wanna know, it's wheelofnames.com. I'll put them in, cut and or copy and paste, and I spin that wheel, and then whenever it picks, I'm watching.
Okay.
So,
I
how
like
do
it.
you pick movies, Caleb?
So you find this to be a successful.
Okay, here's the thing. Okay, I do that if I feel analysis paralysis. If I'm like, I don't know what I want to watch.
Yeah.
I have
Yeah.
no I can't I couldn't be bothered. If I want to watch something, I will watch it. But it usually is like if I just can't be bothered, there's too many choices, I will go through the wheel of names route. And that has been good to me, and therefore I stick to it.
Well, I like your I like this because you are still it's like more like you're shooting a shotgun where you're like, all right, I'm gonna
It's a
let
scattershot.
yeah, but I am gonna pick which movies are possible.
I put it all on black and I say, let's just roll the dice and see what happens.
Yeah, I like it. But
And
you're
sometimes
still picking a range, which I appreciate. That's not just
Mhm.
fully random. I really do appreciate that
Well,
part of it.
sometimes I'm feeling kooky and I'll go full random. Like,
Which is fine
I'm
too.
not opposed to doing that,
Yeah.
you know?
So, yeah, I like that. So we'll be posting these instructions on our, some sort of account we have,
It'll
Instagram or
be
some or
it'll
letterboxed article if
yeah.
we can do that, and
It's
so we'll be
so
able to share these in case you are stuck and you wanna just do it Ian's way.
I'm gonna publish this on my Substack. You're gonna be able to get all the information and kinda do it the Ian way. Yeah, but what about you in terms of picking movies? Do you feel the same?
Totally agree. I get major, analysis paralysis, option anxiety,
Mhm.
and I overthink movies too, or I'll just get too much into, whether or not I'm gonna enjoy it, which I think
Mm.
that once you go into a movie with, like, whether or not it's gonna be what you want, you're putting a lot of, pressure on the movie to deliver.
Exactly.
It's much better to go in just being like, "This is a movie that is gonna take me on this ride, and I don't know where it's
Mhm.
going," and that's almost always a better movie watching experience for me. So, my number 1 pick ever occasionally, there's a specific movie I'll really wanna watch that I'll just have
Mhm.
an itch for, and so that's awesome when that happens. But usually what happens is, either I put something on and I don't even ask my wife what she wants
Right.
to watch, and I just put something on and I just say, "I don't know what this is," and we're just gonna watch it, and if it stinks, we'll turn it off.
Okay, real
Or
quick before okay, no,
yeah.
go. Okay, so
So
is is your
no, go ahead.
house a movie democracy?
It can be, not
Okay,
always. Sometimes it's just I'm gonna put something on. Sometimes, like,
and
Zenon Warrior Princess or, Zenon Girl of the
that's
21st
Xena,
Century.
right.
That's a great show.
It was really
That
good.
one was my choice
Got it.
that I didn't even
Oh,
consult
wow.
my wife on, but it was just something I knew she would like, and I just wanted to put on something
You were
for she
like,
had
"Hey,
work and she
you're
was
gonna get a
tired,
kick out
and
of this." Yeah.
I was like and I love surprising her with the movie
Mm,
she doesn't expect me to ever put on,
yeah,
so that was that one. So then the third option, and this is kind of the last resort because I hate this process,
yeah.
is just going through movies on a list on
Um,
some streaming website or something, and then just saying, "What about this one?" And we both just look for him and go, "Okay, I'll watch this." And then, "Will you watch this?" "Okay, I'll watch this. Will you watch this?" And that's painful. I hate that one.
well, see, now that's something I do because, again, with all these goddamn streaming services, I at the beginning of each month because they'll rotate the movies out, right? Because some movies
Oh yeah,
were distributed
they're
by
going
a
away.
certain movie studio, but then they got bought by another movie. All this stuff, they're always changing
And
hands.
their contracts expiring.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So what I do at the beginning of each month, I'm crazy, I know this. But at the beginning of each month, I look to see what movies are coming into the streaming services and I scour the list and then I'm like, okay, I want to watch that later. I want to watch that later. And I'll add those to my document, my
The
wheel of
new
names.
movies.
The new movies, correct. So I'm constantly
Okay.
adding
See, I'm
movies.
more worried about what's leaving.
See, the thing is if I pick a movie and it's not on the streaming service, I'll watch another time. I,
Yeah,
you
that's
know,
smart.
we'll just
That's a good
it'll
way to
come up.
view it. That's very
It'll
zen
come
of
up.
you.
Yeah, I'm. You know
It'll
this.
come back
I'm very
around.
zen. Yeah,
Well, that was great. I really appreciate the insight on that and being able to share my choosing experience. Yours is a much better. Yours is what I was hoping for, honestly, when I
yeah.
brought this up
Pure
because
chaos.
that was great, and I didn't know that about you.
Yeah, I don't know why I do it, but I do it. I think it's I just don't think I wanna make a decision, you know? And I think I'd be happy with any movie
Yeah.
that it picks for me.
Well,
Does this
and
Okay.
in my opinion, like I was
Mhm.
saying, you are doing the movie you're watching a disservice by putting weight on it. Like, you're more likely to have a better time if you just pick something kinda random and you're not trying to, like, "Oh, I
Sure.
really want this, like, fix from this specific movie because at one time I watched it, I got this kind of experience, and I want that exact same experience." That's a trap I fall into, and I'm
Right.
sitting there watching it trying to, like, generate the same emotions I had last time instead of just experiencing the movie for where I'm at now.
Right.
Before we get into Michael Clayton, which I keep teasing that, are there any of the other 3 movies that you had a specific, fun experience with, or there's anything you'd like
Um,
to dive in, if you'd like to ask
yeah.
opinions?
So, I went to go see Dungeons& and Dragons at the movie theater, and I'm
Mm,
currently going through a phase where I don't wanna know what's happening in the movie. I want to have 0 expectations because let me tell you, I've been burned too many I just burped. I've been burned
bless you.
I've been burped too many times. I've been burned too many times, you know?
Yeah.
And they
And by
do
that, what
this
do you
thing.
mean with trailers?
Well, like, you have I think with trailers, they kind of give you the best of what they have, right? They really build up
Yep.
that anticipation, and sometimes a lot of the stuff in trailers, guess what? It's not in the final cut, it's on the movie, right?
Not even in it, not even in the same context, but the scene doesn't even
Exactly.
exist. Do you remember when Rogue One trailers came out and then like
Mm.
90% of this trailer
Which
wasn't
was
in the
not even in
movie
the
and it was
movie,
like this
yeah.
big weird controversy where it's like, is that cheating? Like, can you do
Right.
that? Can you just
I know, I think
tease
someone
another
actually
movie?
sued. I'm trying to remember what recently someone sued a movie because the trailer didn't portray something. Oh, it was Ana de Armas in a movie. It was Ana de
Yeah, yeah,
Armas in a movie. Anyway, but regardless, yeah, try not to see trailers because I don't wanna be kind of, swayed in it. I just wanna go in open mind, open heart,
yeah,
clear
yeah,
eyes, full
amen.
heart. Um So going into Dungeons and Dragons, I kind of wasn't very apprehensive because me as a person, if you didn't know by the title, it is a fantasy based movie. I'm into that stuff. Give it to me, you know? And the leading actor is Chris Pine. I mean,
Great lead.
like, that's an A plus for me. That Chris Pine, for me, Caleb, means a good time at the movies. Okay.
Yeah,
And I go into this movie and I leave completely satisfied. It was
good.
a great movie theater movie. I think mileage may vary on great, but for me, it essentially did what that movie was supposed to do.
Yeah.
So actually, what I want to touch on, so it's directed by John Francis Daley and Jonathan Goldstein, and they
Okay.
directed one of my favorite comedies of the last few years. And that movie is called Game Night, which listeners, I implore you to watch Game Night. It's truly one of the funniest movies you'll see. It's such a fun idea, and I won't spoil it by, you know, I see you on your phone. Are you adding it to your watch list?
I was gonna make a comment saying that once you were done, but yes, it's going on my watch list now.
No, it's just such a it's so basically they also co-wrote the movie. They're great writers, and I think that really showed in this movie. It was like the perfect balance of, funny when it was supposed to be funny, kind of serious dramatic performances when it was supposed to, be a little bit more dramatic in the film. The casting was awesome. Chris Pine, Michelle Rodriguez, Roger Jean Page. That guy's very handsome. You got Justice Smith. Hugh Grant is in this movie.
Love Hugh Grant.
Just yeah, and he's just chewing up the scenery like you wouldn't believe. Again, like
Hugh
this
Grant.
yeah, this movie, it's people knew the assignment. They knew the assignment, you know? But again, I would recommend going to see this movie. Also, they do a cool thing. I read a few reviews kind of taking a hit at the CGI, which it kind of I disagree with because unlike a certain movie that you and I both saw together, which I think will be the measuring
Mhm.
stick that we use to talk about other CGI heavy movies. That movie is Ant-Man: Quantumania. Big
Yeah.
dud.
Yeah,
Big
me and
no.
Ian saw that together in the theater and just had a really
That was like
awful,
that I felt the
boring.
opposite of this movie. Like I
Yeah.
left Ant-Man, I like my heart hurt. I was just like, ugh. I spent like 25 bucks on this garbage? Anyway, no, but, like, this movie, what I thought it did differently was it like, you were actually in a real like, they shot, uh, what's the word? On
Real stages, like practical sets,
practical sets, but also they shot, what's like, when you're out in the, like, country, what is that called?
on
Shooting
location.
on location, thank you. So they actually shot on location, and you can
Cool.
tell.
It helps. It makes a
It helps.
difference.
It totally helps with,
You
like, the
feel it.
world building, exactly, and then also they
Mhm.
they do a lot of practical effects too, so it's a good
Cool.
mixture of both. So I would recommend that movie. Super,
Well,
super
and
fun.
I f
Mhm.
that makes sense to me, and people complain about CGI for a movie like that. It's kinda
Yeah.
like you gotta know what movie you're seeing. Like, it's a movie about a game of, like, make believe, like, play pretend with your friends, and so to me, it's like the CGI doesn't need to be perfect. Yeah, because it's
Right,
like it's an
right.
adventure, like, dorky,
It's
fun.
inherently silly, you know?
Yeah,
I think
and it
fans
sounds like they knew that, like, so the movie builds around that kind of, like,
right.
premise of, like, "Hey, this is just supposed to be, like, a fun adventure, like, with your buddies type
I
of
think
vibe."
bigger D&D fans would argue that it's not inherently silly, it's like, it's.
I will say, my wife's uncle is a big D&D fan.
We gotta get
We're gonna
set
be
up.
starting a game. Yeah, you
Caleb,
should play
invite
with us,
me,
dude. Yo, you're
please.
invited if you
Oh,
would
I would
you we
love
need
to
more
go.
people too. You'll have to
Mm,
come up or, like, maybe we can, add you on FaceTime or something,
I would
but you're
love
welcome
to.
to come. He I expected to be fairly cynical about the film.
Yeah.
Last I talked to him, he was very excited about it. He had been hearing good
Oh,
things, and he had been hearing that they did a good job with kind of the spirit of,
right.
D&D.
Mhm,
Instead of trying to
mhm.
make it into, like, an epic, they kept it, like, more fun and, playful, and so he's, like, old school, like, he's been
Right.
playing since probably, like, the '70s, I would
And that's
bet.
when it started. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think he's like an OG nerd, like,
Wow.
he's, like, a legit, like, owns originals of all those nerd books from the '60s, '70s,
Okay,
'80s,
well,
like.
let's not
Oh, no, I'm speaking with huge
okay.
admiration.
Those
I'm
nerd
jealous.
books.
No, I just mean, like, he
I
was
know.
there for the first wave of, like, The Hobbit in 2001, The
Oh, sure,
Space
sure, sure.
Odyssey, and, like, he
Right.
was reading those books and he saw those so he's like a
That
OG
rules.
nerd. I mean that with the most admiration and respect. He's an awesome guy.
I would
Um,
I'd be interested to see has he seen it? I'd be interested to see what
I
he
don't know. I will report back. We'll have,
I would like to
Uncle
hear.
Kevin, movie report when I hear, what he thought about it
I would love
once
that.
he's seen it.
Um, Another thing I liked about this movie, again, that kinda I think it just helps give, like, the uninitiated something to, like, latch onto, if that makes sense, but it like,
Yeah,
overall, it's a heist movie, which is a concept that I think most people that go see movies can understand. So
totally.
it's not, like, completely, like it's not completely,
It's not based on some D&D
yeah,
lore that is gonna take 20 minutes to explain.
exactly. It's just like this is a concept you understand. These are characters that you won't, or like I guess like the world itself you're not going to get. But if you've seen enough movies, you can get grip. You can get to grips with it, and it's a fun ride.
Eh,
Um,
that's cool.
mhm.
I'm excited to watch it. I appreciate movies that don't, over explain and, like, talk down to the audience, and so if it's just kinda gonna be like, "Hey, this is D&D world," not everything's gonna
Yeah,
make sense to you, but if you just come along and accept what's happening, like, you'll be able to
right.
follow the basic story.
Yeah. So yeah, I give that my Ian seal of approval, and then give like a little stamp effect. Shink. I don't know. That's more of like a sword. Like like a stamp. Kukunk, kukunk. Yeah, Ian stamp
Here.
from
Yeah.
that makes sense because of Dungeons and
Ian.
Dragons. By decree of Dungeons and Dragons.
The goblins are
The
coming, the goblins are coming.
Huh?
Hit the warning stamp.
Anyway,
There are goblins in D&D, I think.
it's true. No, you're right.
So the movie I'd like to talk about for my final 4 is, Mutiny on the Bounty, and I actually did not watch. I didn't finish a movie. There's a movie that technically could have finished, and I didn't, so I could save this one to talk about because I really enjoyed Mutiny on the Bounty. So we talked about how you choose movies. This is another one that I had a unique way of interacting with that I this is another thing I should have talked about. This is new for me though.
Hmm,
On YouTube, they have free movies if you're
that's
a
right.
premium subscriber like I am, because I don't like ads. And it'll just play movies on a shuffle basically if you just let it run. And so it just kind of got left on in my house, and I wandered in at the beginning of Mutiny on the Bounty, and I got just totally sucked into it. So it's Marlon Brando leads. He's the first mate of on a ship called the HMS Bounty. And
Mhm.
basically they have a captain who's kind of crazy and ultimately decides he doesn't really care about his men. And so guys start dying and are treated really cruelly. And then Marlon Brando kind of leads a mutiny against this captain, Captain Bligh. And it was awesome. It's very fun. It's a beautiful, big, old, like, golden days of Hollywood movie,
Right.
1962. There's
Mhm.
like 4 different versions of this movie, I think.
Is this, like, the
Um,
latest one? Do you know? Or I guess
no,
not
I
the
think there
latest,
was
but
one in like the 20 teens. Like,
got it,
I
okay.
think there's one that was fairly new, with like a big actor. But it's just a gorgeous movie. They did a scale recreation of the real HMS Bounty for
That's aw
filming, and so
see,
there's
that's the
actual
golden
shots
age
of
of
this big giant
filmmaking.
boat with men work. It's
That's
amazing, and it just
awesome.
does no CGI or practical effects will ever match just having a big boat on water.
Right.
I know you gotta do what you gotta do. Not everybody's gonna have that budget. Um, but we can still appreciate those movies that did it,
For
and
sure.
this one did it. So there's awesome stuff. Marlon Brando has this, like, great accent. It's not even like a British accent. It's like this, like, weird posh American accent,
Mm.
and I don't understand why,
Like a
but
New
it's
England
great.
accent almost?
Yes, kind
Yeah,
of, but it's
yeah.
great. And he's just, really fun, and just beautiful. There's lots of the movies, set in Tahiti because 'cause they're trying to get, breadfruit to bring back to
And
England, which was
I'm
interesting to
assuming
me.
I'm assuming filmed on location, so it looks absolutely gorgeous.
Almost positive
Oh,
if it's
okay.
definitely if it's not actually in Tahiti, it was
Well, it's
filmed
not
in
like
some
tropical,
tropical,
right.
beautiful yes, and so there's, like, these amazing sequences in that, Tahiti stuff, and, like, there's one sequence I really enjoyed where they are fishing for a big feast for the whole tribe, and so they have the whole every guy is in the water, and all the girls are in the water, and they basically splash the water and come together and trap all the fish in a circle, and then they can just
Mm,
go crazy on these fish and catch a bunch of them. And it was just like really
smart.
cool. It felt authentic. I don't know if it's actually a real thing, but it felt like they were really actually doing the fishing process. Like I'm pretty sure they did the full thing. So that'd be my recommendation. It's older, it's 3 hours long, but it's really worth it, and it's really, like, it fills the running time really well. Also, you actually mentioned this to me. It is, also co-starring and in a really great performance and role, Richard Harris, who was the first
Mm.
Dumbledore in the first and second Harry Potter film. And personally, he's still my view of Dumbledore. Like when I read the books, that's the Dumbledore I see. I don't see the new guy because I didn't like him very much. But that Richard Harris was like perfect as Dumbledore and really good in this movie.
Richard Harris is the I almost said Gandalf, Dumbledore. He's our Dumbledore.
Yeah, he is the one we support.
He's the official Dumbledore of the Log It podcast.
Yes, yes, we won't allow anything else.
I'm also a premium subscriber due to the fact that I hate ads as well. So I think you mentioned that
Hell yeah.
if you're a premium subscriber, do you get access to free movies or can anyone get access to free movies? Do you know? Anyone?
I honestly it might be anybody, you probably will get ads though, is my
Right.
guess.
Which is fine. If that's the case, listen to these movies they have for free. Okay,
Some
ready?
great ones. Yeah, do it.
Number 1,
Yeah.
LA Confidential, a movie that I just
Oh,
watched.
perfect.
Again, an
It's on my
amazing
watch list.
movie. Add it. Ever heard of this movie? Arrival? Easily one of the best sci-fi movies of the 2010s, like, probably one of my favorite. If you have never seen Arrival, stop what you're doing, go see Arrival, and then cry for leave yourself
I
some
just
time to
finally
go and
watched
cry.
it like 2 months ago for the first time.
Finally?
It took me so
Caleb!
long,
You're
and it was great.
we're gonna have to talk
It was
about
just
that
one I
movie at
never
some
was in the
point.
right mood for. That happens. It'll be on my watch
Oh.
list for years.
Oh, so good.
What's
Again,
next?
Minority Report. I would say a Spielberg
Just watched that
classic.
recently.
So good. The last movie that is on YouTube free is the movie Heat, the Michael Mann classic Heat, which is also supposed to be getting a sequel with our guy Adam Driver in one of the starring roles. If
Oh,
you haven't
wow.
seen Heat, if you haven't seen Heat, Caleb, have you seen Heat?
Why would you even say that?
I'm only accusing you because you have almost a quizzical look on your face. I won't judge,
There's
but
no
you have to
look.
watch Heat because
There's no look. I've seen it with,
look. What look?
great actors. It's got so many great
Look, I'm
actors in
gonna
it.
not look
Pacino?
I'm gonna assume you've seen it and just tell the audience, not you, Caleb, to watch this movie because boy howdy is it a
Everybody go watch it,
classic.
you idiots.
Yeah. Have you yeah. And then finally Ninja Turtles is also
Okay, I
on
have
the
mostly watched this. I wanted to make sure it's what I thought it
Heat?
was. I have mostly watched this.
Oh, okay.
I've seen the ending.
It's a great movie.
The
Huh?
finale, I won't say what happens in it for spoilers, but just the one where it's set on at the airport, on the airport grounds,
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
right?
wait, airport.
Where Robert De
Are
Niro
you
and Al
thinking
Pacino
of
are chasing each other around.
Oh, yes, 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 yes. Uh-huh, uh-huh.
Uh,
You're
just
right.
great. I just love that sequence, and I love the setup for that lighting and everything.
It's
Just
so
really
good.
great.
Um,
Point Break, that reminds me of too, which
but
I just watched recently as well,
I I haven't seen that
and it's
movie.
great. That's good.
I'll
You should
watch that
check that out.
movie. I'll watch that movie.
I'll watch Heat for real, and you watch that one. That was on YouTube Movies too when it was just shuffling, and that's why I didn't see the whole thing. So I came in at a weird time.
Gotcha.
I think it's really time we get to our main
I think it's time.
event,
I think
Michael
it's time.
Clayton, George Clooney, Tony Gilroy. What's your thoughts? Get it started.
I mean, so I will say I have seen this movie before, but as I told you before recording, I fell asleep. So it was nice to be able to revisit this movie because I genuinely don't remember any of it. Um,
Uh-huh.
but yeah, man, it's a roller coaster. It's a very stressful movie. So Michael Clayton, it's a 2007 thriller, a legal thriller, essentially,
Yep.
directed by Tony Gilroy and starring George Clooney in the tit, titular role, titular role as Michael Clayton. Um, give me the summary, Caleb. What's this movie
Yeah.
about?
So
Why should people?
I really liked it. Basically, it's about Michael Clayton. He's a fixer, which basically means he does anything that a law company needs. So he'll get information, he'll go talk to people, he'll get people to shut up, he'll get people to do things to do so if they basically like the idea in the film is that the law firm has all these clients that are valuable to them and they make a lot of money off of, and so they need to keep those
Mhm,
people in a position to pay them. And so, for like instance, the movie starts with a case where he's going to a guy who had just hit somebody, a pedestrian, while he was driving and ran. And so, Michael Clayton goes to help this guy get out of it because he's worth a lot of money to this company, and they want to make sure he doesn't go to jail. And so it's kind of the basic idea. But so just think about like a the guy who does anything for these guys and shady stuff, you know. And so this
what does
movie
he
is
say? He
basically,
says
oh, yeah, I'm the janitor. I clean up the mess.
he says he says, "I'm not a miracle worker. I'm a janitor." Makes you
The
think,
smaller the
doesn't it?
mess, the easier it is to clean up. Um,
Uh-huh.
so yeah, so and that's kind of a big theme. So is that he is basically protecting bad people. And he's kind of a guy who does crazy things and goes to great lengths to help bad people stay out
Yeah,
of
he
trouble and
he
keep being
basically
rich.
works for a law firm that essentially is working for giant companies, right? They're on retainer for giant companies. So if they're
Yeah.
like in the instance of this movie, which you'll touch on, they're kind of brought in to
Yeah.
make sure that the little man gets kicked in the
Screwed
teeth a little bit
over.
more. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And so this movie focuses on a case, like Ian is saying, of a company called U North, which is basically like a chemical,
Like a
industrial,
Monsanto.
yep, giant company. And there's a case where they had a weed killer that caused cancer and killed a bunch of farmers. Now these farmers are suing U North with a class action lawsuit, and Michael Clayton has been called in to basically make sure that their lawsuit doesn't work. And the big curveball in the film, the catalyst, is the main lawyer working on the U North case for U North goes crazy, and he basically has a mental breakdown. He's been working on this case for like 10, 11 years, and he's like, oh my gosh, I've spent all this time
Mm,
working. He says like 17% of my life has been spent helping to screw over people. And he kind of falls in love with the main litigant uh,
right.
of the against you North, daughter of farmers who were killed, and he realizes she's this great person who's like awesome and creepily in love with her.
Well,
But it kind of is like the key breakthrough for him to realize that he's basically spent his a large portion of his life screwing over
s
good normal people.
so there's that, but then also he's a man that suffers from a chemical imbalance. He's bipolar, and I believe that he didn't take his medicine or what
Yes, so this
happened.
this film is fairly ambiguous in how it approaches his mental health issue. He is bipolar and has been taking medication, but his character is insistent that this is a good thing for him.
Mhm.
And it does seem like overall there's evidence that perhaps he is semi lucid still and
But
like
this
that
is
this
kind of
isn't
the
just a full mental break.
this case is kind of what cracked him to
To
where
yes, whatever it was. And
right,
it leaves it fairly ambiguous, which I appreciate of like, is he crazy? Is he just like a, infatuated with this young girl and he's a creep? Or is he just like really having a come to Jesus moment in a
right.
sincere way? But in the end, I think the movie would support that last bit because so we'll finish the synopsis. We're going to get into spoiler territory. And we'll keep it brief because we're running long. But basically, Clayton is called into this case, and he's trying to help pick up the pieces of this lawyer who's crazy. The lawyer's an old friend, and essentially throughout the film, as he keeps working through things, he realizes that ultimately his friend is right, and that they
Mhm.
are both working for the scum of the earth, and that they are morally compromised humans, and they both kind of have this like awakening.
It's a legal thriller, but then there's also this like subplot of Michael Clayton being hunted by two hitmen, which you kind of is interwoven throughout the movie. So it just injects more
Yep.
stress, and it's always at a 10. Like there's I don't to me, I don't think there's really any let off from this movie. It kind of like right when you know right when the movie kind of gets going, it's kind of at full throttle, which I love. But George Clooney obviously is kind of that this is his movie, right? But the guy that
Yep.
plays the bipolar uh was he a lawyer, I guess? I'm assuming.
Lawyer.
Yeah,
Yep.
Tom
Head lawyer.
Wilkinson. He does such a good job. He's
So good.
very compelling, and you kind of feel for the
Yep.
character because he like even though he is unstable, he's like fighting for this truth, and he wants it to be known
It's
by
clear he's
everyone.
trying to do what's best. Yep. On Tom Wilkinson, so the movie opens with the great monologue where he's kind of doing his crazy man rant, and he's talking about how he's been like in the sewers working for like these disgusting, cretins.
Yeah.
And now he's awakened, and then that's where he says, "I'm Shiva, I'm the god of death." And then that is repeated again in the middle of the movie when he actually says it to Michael Clayton. Tom Wilkinson actually wrote that monologue.
Oh, wow.
Isn't that crazy? I don't
That's
know why or
awesome.
how, if it was like improv or what, but that was like his creation. It's such a pivotal part of the movie. I thought that was really interesting.
Really powerful. Tilda Swinton's also in this movie. She works for this U North, this chemical company, as a kind of like a an ambassador. What does she do? She's like a
Well,
representative. She works for
she's either like head of like PR, like, or she is the CEO because she
right,
succeeded some guy who's like the head of the company now. So,
correct.
but she's basically like the communications head of the company. It seems like the public face of the company.
And she rocks, man. This movie was nominated for 7 Academy Awards: Best Picture, Best Director, Best Actor, and Best Supporting Actress, Tilda Swinton, and she ended up winning. She rocked. She was awesome in this movie, and she plays someone who's just struggling with morality. Like she does things throughout this movie where you only do if you're at like literally the end of your line, like at the most desperation. And her name is Karen, and I gotta say, she plays a Karen. She
I
plays a
didn't
Karen,
even
Caleb.
I didn't even think about that. I didn't even yeah, she's
Man,
really
she rocks. Cause you really I think I think an actor does a really good job if the viewer or the audience has like a visceral reaction to them. And I had
Yep,
that poor I absolutely hated her character through this movie. I
yeah.
She was complete dog shite. This is also it's a movie that I was looking at the budget, and I feel like now movies, if you don't make a movie for like 200 million, then it's like an independent movie, essentially. This movie was made for 25 million and it grossed over 92 million. That rules. That's awesome.
Oh, so major hit,
Oh,
yep.
major hit, major hit. And this is very I feel like this is a very 2000s movie. This is a very much a movie of its time, I feel like.
Yeah, I can see that.
I feel like there was a lot of movies kind of in this same vein. I think a movie that you and I both liked, State of Play, kind of 2009
Yep,
film with why am I
similar
blanking?
vibe.
Similar vibe.
Ben Affleck,
Yes.
um,
Yeah.
few other actors I can't
Just
remember.
kind of like just a it's like either like a political thriller or like The Ides of March came out in like 2011, I think, with George Clooney. It's like kind of the
Yeah,
same
that was a
thing.
good
A lot
one.
of political thrillers. I think that was like a very much late 2000s um thingy.
I was gonna say you're talking about Tilda Swinton's performance and just the scene where she is
In the
practicing her
bathroom.
speech, kind
Oh
of when they're
yeah.
introducing her, and it's kind of going through her morning where she's got this like manic, like robotic, like obsession with how she's phrasing all of her
Mhm.
lines in her speech, and she's just like going through these like minute variations of how to phrase things and what words to use, and it's like very just like manic and robotic and like a computer, and then intercut with that is her very like personable like perfect presentation with the actual interview. So you're seeing her in this like state of like you feel disgusting and like it makes you uncomfortable and you don't like she feels dangerous almost even though she's
Yeah.
just practicing a speech, and then it goes to her in front of essentially the country being this like perfect like personable, so you just see how much of her whole existence is like manufactured and like a presentation to trick people essentially into believing that they're not evil.
Because yeah, at the end of the day, they're looking out for number one, right? Like
Yeah, oh
that's
yeah, that's all literally. I mean, and literally throughout the movie, she tries to assassinate two people and successfully one. And the one she does assassinates the heart of the movie, and so it's
right.
you especially resent her for it. Um, yeah, great movie, great performances all around. It's one I wish I watched sooner because I enjoyed it so much. Maybe now is the right time. So this was awesome. In the future, we may be doing some movie news and gossip, but I think we're running long today. Unless there's anything particularly interesting you might have, Ian.
Not really. I was looking and there's a little thing called CinemaCon
Okay,
that is going on where I guess a bunch of movies kind of they'll actually show footage or give like first looks at movies. So I guess a lot of movies are doing that right now. So not
cool. Well, we'll be skipping them because we don't like trailers.
yeah, no thank you. Ooh, there's a photo of Tom Cruise on a motorcycle for Mission Impossible.
All right,
It would
I'm in. What is
yeah,
this? Send me a link.
hold on. Basically, a lot of trailers are being released for upcoming movies. I think CinemaCon is like for the movie chains, you know, getting people excited for movies.
Well, maybe if we have to watch some of these trailers, if they could pass our way, we can talk about our thoughts next
We
week
should. That might be fun,
on some of these
actually.
new exciting trailers. But I won't force you to watch them because I know the goal's not to.
Well, shucks. I mean, do we? Is this number one?
This is it.
This
I
is
felt
it?
real good about this one. We've done a few practice rounds, I'll admit, will admit. Um, I think this is going to be it. So thank you for listening to our first episode. This was really fun. Hopefully we'll get, better and stronger and tighter and but we're here to have fun.
the only way we can get better is with your love and support. So,
Yep,
if that means seeing us on the street, giving us a pat on the back,
please.
telling us good jobs, 2 thumbs up, that is awesome. If you wanna just, send us a message on one of our social media accounts, just saying like, "Hey guys, keep up the good work. We're all here supporting you. Like, we're all backing you guys to succeed." That also
Tell
works.
us if how funny we are and,
Yeah, be
what
like, "Hey."
jokes you liked. Point out specific jokes that you thought were funny, because
Right,
I could
like,
use it.
yeah, just like any words of encouragement, like, "Hey, like, that one joke you guys said at the beginning was actually really good, and
Uh-huh.
maybe you guys should do
Do that joke
comedy."
again next week, please, and we'll
Yeah,
do the same jokes. We'll do any hits you like over and over.
right, and being like, I don't know, like, you come up to us on the street and you're like, "Hey, like, maybe you guys, like, yeah, like, the analysis will come, with time. You guys are just, like, work hard, and, like, Ian, like, I know sometimes you, like, stumble over your words, and that's okay because the more you do this, like, I don't know, like, the better you'll be, I guess? I don't know, but I just wanna let you guys know that you're doing a really good job. Like, if you wanna say something like that to us, just positive.
We'd appreciate it. We'll give 'em back. We'll make stuff up about you.
Yeah, we'll be like, "Hey, that's awesome. Thanks,
We thought
guy."
you were great yesterday at the game.
Yeah, like, "Hey, Mike Trout, cool home run." Yeah,
Yeah, that'd be
"Thanks for
cool.
listening."
We should do a weather podcast. We want Mike Trout. He loves weather.
Oh, does he?
Yeah, he's an amateur meteorologist.
Well,
Well, this
Caleb,
has been awesome.
yeah,
Yep.
I go
Um,
ahead. I think we're gonna publish this one.
I think so. Follow us. We're gonna try to do interacting, fun stuff. We're gonna get it all going. We're working, doing our best to get stuff up and move in. But this is just the beginning.
Okay, so first off, you have to follow us on Letterboxd. That's a
Yep.
given.
Log it
Mine,
podcast,
my handle's Ian_Lock, LOCKE. Caleb, what's yours?
and mine is movie fan 999.
And if you want to follow our podcast account, which we will be updating sooner rather than later, that is
Yep.
logit_podcast. LOGIT_podcast.
And do we have an
Um,
Instagram yet or
we do
anything
have
like
an
that?
Instagram, Caleb. Have I done anything with it? No, I have not,
No,
but
but follow us and we will be posting
we will
things.
be posting. That is logitpod,
Funny
LOGIT
thoughts.
POD. Yeah, and you
Um,
can recommend movies too.
please.
If you want to
If
give.
anybody interacts with us at this point, you will be shouted out on the podcast. You will be featured. We will be watching whatever movie you recommend. Like, you are at this window where you have full like, this is it. We're hungry.
I don't want to throw Caleb under the bus here, but maybe we
Uh-oh.
might ask you to become on the podcast.
Am I getting fired already?
No, no, no. I mean, like having
I'm just
someone.
kidding.
No, no, no.
Oh, for sure. No, I think it'd be
Yeah,
awesome.
and if
I think for sure. If you
who
got
knows?
interesting thoughts on movies and want to talk, we'll talk. And then if there's some good stuff, we'll put it on we'll throw it up, man. We're open to
Yeah, who
anything.
knows?
Um,
But
Eventually, we'll probably get less able to talk to everybody, but right now, come and join us. Like, this
hey,
is you'll get if we'll be doing this for a while,
the lines are
regardless.
open. Lines are open. Feel free to call in.
We'll do. Yeah, we want to do in the future. There's going to be fun stuff too, like live watch parties for movies, live streams on YouTube, possibly all that fun stuff.
Ooh, like a
Um,
like a logit commentary party, movie commentary.
oh, that's fun. That's
That's
really
what I'm talking
fun.
about.
Log
Oh,
it
and
lists.
merch.
Oh yeah, we're gonna be working on some fun stuff that'll be worthwhile. It'll be cool on its own, and then it'll also be merch for our show.
Yeah. So, yeah,
Thank you
thank you
for
guys.
listening. So, Ian, I picked Michael Clayton this week as our
Yes.
movie to watch.
Yes.
Do you have a movie? We kind of so this is interesting. We'll have to figure this out. We did the recommendations for each other's movies to watch, but I still would like to pitch one to watch both of us together. Basically, not together, but we'll both
Yeah, we'll
watch for
just
next week.
it'll be our in-depth discussion. Of course, I have a movie. I have it queued up, ready to go, and that is the night. I'm stuck in the '90s, Caleb. I don't know what to tell
Love
you.
it.
You can't get me out of
There's
here.
a lot of it's a great blockbuster decade.
I'm stuck in the year 1998, and I'm hanging out with my guy Wes Anderson, and we are
Okay.
watching Rushmore.
Ah, cool. Um,
That's my movie
awesome.
pick.
I love that early West. Cool. So we'll be talking next week about Rushmore, and our thoughts revisiting it here in 2023. Thank you so much again. First episode. Please join us again next week. This will be a weekly thing. We're working on all the details, but once we have our release day, we're going to try to stick to it. So thank you very much, Ian. This was awesome, man.
Hey, I had a great time, Caleb.
Good. All right. Thank you very much. Log it.
Watch a movie.
Go rush to your TV and watch more movies. See you next week.
Bingo.